Kochie's Business Builders is proudly brought to you by our partners Dell and QBE, who are helping small businesses grow.
Coming up on Kochie's Business Builders, it's the sweet smell of success for the founder of Aromababy. Meet the mate's first startup that's winning friends and influencing people. Plus, it's a matter of life and death for family business survival. G'day and welcome to another episode of Kochie's Business Builders, where we love helping small business owners succeed with lots of tips, advice and above all, inspiration. Speaking of inspiration, joining me today as co-host is Catherine Cervasio, the founder of Aromababy, an incredible Aussie success story. She launched the first of a kind brand in 1994, offering parents a no-nasties organic alternative to existing baby skincare. Since then, the brand has gone from strength to strength and it's a smash globally. If you want to know how to take your business to the world, Catherine has plenty of advice. And it's great to have you aboard, Catherine. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Now, 28 years. That's a long time for a business going. How did you take it global?
It actually sounds so scary when you say it like that. Look, I think in the first few years, we pretty much ran out of market in Australia. It was so far ahead of its time. Natural and organic was really not well known back in 1994, that's for sure. So I thought, well, if we can't sustain our business just by selling in Australia, what do we do? Thankfully for us, a couple of people came knocking, and within a few short years, we ended up on the shelves of stores in Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea and the Middle East.
It's such a good story. Hey, I'd love your thoughts on our next business. They've also been a great Aussie brand for a lot of years. Survival is a family-run operation that has been making first aid-related kits and equipment for over 30 years, would you believe? The business is a huge success locally, but Mike Tyrrell and his family have their hearts set on becoming a global brand. So, Catherine, you took Aromababy global, as you said. What were some of the issues you faced?
I think you need to be careful when you say you want to export simply for the sake of it. So a lot of people want to grow their business, and necessarily doesn't mean that more turnover means more profit. So export takes a lot of investment, it takes a lot of resources, so there's more time, there's warehousing costs, investment in stock, investment in staff, time away from the family if you're visiting overseas markets. So I think these are all things that you really need to consider.
Where do you go for advice? So where did you find the best help was?
There's a lot of advice out there, certainly through the government and state chamber offices. Right. There are a lot of access to information. There's workshops, there's trade information, there's delegations.
That's really great practical advice, Catherine. Thank you for that. Now, to help Mike Tyrrell and his family find out how survival can break into the US market, we sent in KBB expert Cynthia Deering to unpack their challenges.
Yeah, this is our showroom. You'll see plenty of our first aid handbooks, from the first ones that we've made to our most recent.
Yeah.
And then this is our overflow packing room. So we have the extra packing here and plenty of boxes.
And it's overflowing everywhere.
It is. We've outgrown our space here, which is a good problem.
Yeah.
But it's also a pain point.
Absolutely. So tell me, how did it start?
Well, 34 years ago, Dad found me as a toddler covered in blood from head to toe. And look, he had no idea as a parent what to do. He felt helpless.
Yeah.
From that point, he grabbed and designed this first aid handbook. And the main point about this is he put a magnet on it so it was accessible. Through the 90s, they made plenty of these books, did lots of fundraisers, and then they realised that people need also to have a first aid kit. They need to have the right equipment to be able to respond. So you need knowledge plus some equipment. This was the first one that we made. It's our biggest one. It's for workplaces, for families. Basically that comprehensive one that you want to ensure you have everything for.
Yes.
This black one is our sort of medium-sized vehicle, fits in the glove box, and it was my favourite until we made this one. This green coyote tan one, it's a snakebite kit. And the thing that we do different to everybody else, and anyone else that has started to do this is because of the innovation that Survival has done, is we label it. So we tell you this is a smart bandage, which is for wound, sprain, or a snake bite.
Who's on the team today?
We've got Dad and Jerry. They're the twins, the founders. I've got my best mate, Jordan, who I went to school with. He's the director of marketing. And I've got my auntie, Julie, who's going to be packing in here today.
But it really is a family-run business, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And tell me about where your passion for all this came from.
I was a lawyer.
Yeah.
And then I went travelling. And it was in 2004, and I was in PP Island when the tsunami hit on Boxing Day. And for me, that was just a life-changing experience. I just wanted to give back. I saw so much death. I pulled a lot of people out and took them to safety. And if I had a second chance in life, which is what I got, because I got to run from the wave, I wanted to make sure that I had the opportunity to give back to the world. Yeah.
That's incredible. Mike, tell me about some of the challenges that you faced here at Survival in the past when you started and then today as the business has grown.
You can see right here, we've got plenty of boxes. And you haven't even seen the rest of the warehouse where we've managed to Tetris in stuff everywhere. So the inventory and our space issue is the biggest problem at the moment, but we've got plenty of other ones. We've been looking to go into the international markets. And we've gone over into the US and we've done a soft approach to sell over there. We've sold through the Amazon channel.
How have you found it?
You know, I think we've moved some product, but it's 13 times our size. So our own backyard is doing okay, we think, with lots of room to improve, but it's been a real struggle with us trying to find the distributors or find the B2B people that are over there that can help move our product.
If you had to pick out the top 2 or 3 things that you've found challenging in the international space, what would those be? 1,
we're going in there, we're blind, we don't have any contacts. 2, the amount of costs that we've probably sunk into it to get product over there, and then the fear of moving it from different warehouses and keeping on track of it. And we just don't know. We don't have a pathway about or a clear plan. We've thought that it would just evolve and happen, and it doesn't. So I think we really need some help with that.
Now, Australia's favourite family business competition is back for 2022. Kochie's Business Builders has joined forces with KPMG to celebrate the enormous contribution family businesses make to our communities every day. For the 5th year running, we'll be searching the nation for a fantastic local business to be crowned Australia's favourite family business. The winner will get to appear here on Kochie's Business Builders. So nominate your business or someone you know at kochiesbusinessbuilders.com.au/favourite family business. Nominations close September 19, so get in quick. Now, the cost of living is biting many Australian households, and it's no different for small business. New research from NAB reveals the cost of doing business is at an all-time high. In fact, it's the highest on record since 1997. The Australia Retailers Association is suggesting some businesses may be forced to close as a result. We're all looking for ways to cut costs, and we're fearful of passing price rises onto consumers. It's a real conundrum. So, Catherine, should businesses be worried about upping their prices?
If businesses want to look at keeping their costs stable and perhaps looking at other ways to reduce costs within the actual business, it might be that they need to do things like rethink where their packaging's coming from. What are they buying in from overseas? You know, maybe instead of bringing in a container of empty bottles, it might be well worth producing the bottles locally in Australia.
Thanks, Catherine. Some really great tips there. Next up, tech guru Val Quinn has some great advice for any business owner who doesn't have an IT person in their team.
While your business is growing, it may not yet be large enough to have its own in-house tech person. So this means you might need to step in and become your own IT hero, but you don't need to be a tech superstar to get the basics right. So first, don't cut corners with your equipment. Pick from well-known brands that people are familiar with. So this means less staff training and more technical support materials will be available. Next, documentation, documentation, documentation. So keep detailed records about your systems and how they're configured to support your business's critical processes. So this could be anything from your Wi-Fi settings to how your printers are connected. And take the pressure off yourself by training at least one member of the team in these processes. And this should include a backup plan and how to restore your systems if they go down. And while you may hold all the keys to the castle, a password manager will help you share them with the team while keeping them secure. Finally, choose a trusted partner with support available. With Dell Technologies' trusted advisors, you can either call or chat online with dedicated support for your small business. They can help guide you on your unique business IT needs. For more, head to dell.com.au/smallbiz.
Hi, I'm Tam Al-Sad, and I'm the founder of Fora, a matchmaking service for mates, not dates. I think entrepreneurship has always been on the cards. I think my dad's a classic kind of immigrant story. Started his own business being a mechanic, opened up his own garage and kind of built that for himself. I remember when I was a kid always imagining that I would one day take over the family business. But then as I kind of got older and realised I didn't want to do that, kind of went to uni, joined a startup while I was still at university. Well, I didn't even know it was a startup back then. It was just a small business, and I joined as the 4th employee and kind of helped grow it to more than 80 people. I first had the idea for Fora when I moved to Sydney 7 years ago, and just found myself going, how am I going to meet people? How am I going to make friends? Who am I going to go for a beer with? Started to formulate the idea, actually put together a couple of decks and stuff, got a friend of mine to create a logo, and then kind of put the idea out of my mind because I needed to get a full-time job. But in that time, I'd been running my own events to help meet people myself and to help other people make friends. After the first lockdown, looked at my life and realised, what do I want to be doing? And wanted to do something that I was passionate about, wanted to do something that would bring people together, and remembered the idea that I'd had 6 years before that and thought, well, this seems like as good a time as any, let's give it a go. Fora is a matchmaking service for mates instead of dates. It's really simple. What we do is bring people together 4 at a time based on their common interests and hobbies to meet in a pub or in a cafe and to hopefully become friends. When our members sign up, we ask them a bunch of questions about their hobbies, their interests, their experiences and their values. There's about 175 different data points that they can choose from. Then when they complete their registration, we compare them up against everybody else who's in the database. Then the algorithm runs and it looks at how many interests do you have in common, and then we look for people who are available on the same day and then literally email them and say, hey, are you free next Wednesday like you said you were? We've got a great group for you. I think when it comes to finding friends, you don't really want to do it one-on-one. It's awkward to sit in front of another person and say, hey, would you like to be my friend? That's a weird thing to say, it's a weird thing to hear, and I think it feels creepy and it puts people off, even though there's no real reason why it should. And then when you get to 3 people, you can end up in a situation where 2 people are really getting on and 1 person isn't, and so you end up with somebody feeling left out. 4 seems to be that sweet spot. I think you get any bigger than that and all of a sudden it's hard to actually meet everybody you've been matched up with. What we're trying to do is replicate, the kind of environment where most of us make friends. If you think about school or work, which is where most people make friends, you start off with a big group of people, your entire class or your entire company, and then you get smaller into your department or your friendship group, and then smaller still and smaller still, until a few years later, you're only really speaking to 1 or 2 people. So I think it's still early days for Fora. We've only really been up and running since the end of the last lockdown, so about 9 months. But we're hearing really good stories so far about people who have met up and are going out and doing things together. I got a text message the other day from one of our members who said she's still in contact with the people she met at her first Fora event, and that 2 of them are actually planning a trip to Bali together. So next for Fora is growth, really. We're looking at expanding into Melbourne and hopefully Brisbane by the end of the year. And then from there on, probably looking internationally. Growth is definitely the plan. We just want to make sure that we are the way that people find and become friends in the future.
Hi, I'm Holly Ransom, the founder and CEO of Emergent, a consultancy that specialises in disruptive strategy, leadership development and performance culture. One of the biggest bits of advice that's been transformative for me in my business career has been to think really intentionally about the 5 people you spend the most time around professionally. There's an old adage that says, yeah, you are the people you spend the most time around. I think about a couple of key roles that I think we should always have in those people at any given time. I think firstly, you need to make sure you've got a sage. Who's going to be that sage that's kind of gone before and can share wisdom from ahead. The second thing I think that you really need is a supporter, someone who's going to champion you when you're up against a wall in a small business situation, whether you're challenged by an opportunity or whether you're struggling for the belief that you can find a way through. You need someone who's just going to be that cheerleader for you. The third thing I think you need is someone who's going to offer a challenging second opinion. Who's going to be that person that's going to push you and help you identify those blind spots or challenge you about, is there another better way? There are 3 critical roles that I encourage you to have played out in your 5 at any given time. If you don't have any of them in your crew right now, I'd challenge you to think about, how do I start those conversations? You may not find them on the first go, but it's as simple as reaching out to someone and asking for a cup of coffee and putting the situation, your business challenge, your opportunity right now on the table and getting that advice in. And those relationships can be the start of ones that can bear the fruit for a lot longer period in your business career. I wish you every success.
Welcome back to Kochie's Business Builders. Well, Family Business Survival has grand plans to break into the US market, but there have been some hiccups along the way. KBB expert and international business strategist Cynthia Deeren shares some insights on how they can scale the business to conquer the world. Let's check in to see what she has to say.
Mike, so we've been talking about how you want to go into international markets. Can you give me a bit of colour on that? So what does success look like for you in 5 years' time?
Look, success in 5 years' time would be easily doing more than what we're doing in Australia now. So we would be targeting, I think around $20 million of US dollar sales in 5 years' time.
Okay. And do you want to just be in the US?
We've been looking into the US, into UK and Europe, and into other marketplaces, but I don't know if we're trying too many different options, and we feel a little bit out of depth. At this stage of our international development, what are some of the common mistakes that you see other companies make?
They choose a market without doing any research. You know, they just kind of gut feel it, and they see an opportunity somewhere and they decide that's where they're going to go. Another mistake is that people try to sell into more than one market at a time. So they get really excited and they're like, well, we'll go to South Korea and Malaysia and Japan and Thailand all at the same time. A much better way to go about it is to use data to figure out where you should sell to first, and then pick something that you can smash out of the park, go smash it out of the park, and then pick off the next project. So not enough research is a classic one. It kind of fits with what I said about market selection. I guess the next one is that people try to sell to too many types of people. Let's say you go to the US. You say we're going to sell to all of the US, and we're going to try and sell to pet owners, plus businesses, plus households, and so you're trying to target lots of different market segments, and you're selling lots of different products. Now, the reality is that each market segment is going to need its own approach, even within the market, and each product is going to need attention, right? So for every client avatar and for every product, you have to come up with a slightly different campaign. And so what happens is that people just have way too many options, which leads to overwhelm, but there is a way around it, okay? So I'm going to draw you something now. It's a model I came up with called the International Strategy Streamliner, and it's got about 6 bits in it. So if you tell me at the moment, what are the markets you're thinking of? You're thinking of the US?
US, Europe. UK. Middle East.
So Mike, as you can see, when we strip everything back and we get laser focus, we wind up with what you can see in green there. One market, which is the United States. One ideal international client, mums and dads. We're going to sell one thing, which is our family first aid kit. We're going to use distributors to get to our end user, and we're going to use Facebook as a traction channel. Looking at that, how do you feel?
Well, there's an actionable plan now, rather than spreading ourselves too thin. You can see on the right-hand side in the red, there's way too many options that we're trying to explore.
And that's the goal, because simple scales, complex fails, right? So we want to keep it as simple as possible. Why don't I leave this with you and come back in a couple of weeks and see where you've got to with it?
That'd be great.
Catherine, some really good tips from Cynthia, but I suppose if you're going to go global, it's which partners do you pick? How do you choose them in a foreign land?
It's actually a minefield. I mean, if you can travel, sure. Participate in a trade show, get yourself on the ground, go into the stores. If it's a retail or a consumer brand, go and have a look. Who's selling what? See if you can find a good distributor, ask for recommendations. But it's likely that you'll be bombarded with selection of, a few different people, especially if they think that, oh, this looks like a really lucrative business. So it's important to really be discerning, and I think you need to have your own checklist of what you're looking for as a brand owner.
Great advice. Catherine, thank you so much for spending the time with us today. It's been wonderful.
That's my pleasure. Thanks
Good
for
to
having
see
me.
you again. Great advice as always from Catherine there. And remember, if you're looking for small business tips or the latest news and expert advice, then you can find them online at kochiesbusinessbuilders.com.au or follow Kochie's Biz on Facebook, LinkedIn, Insta and Twitter. We'll see you same time next week. Next week on Kochie's Business Builders, standing on the shoulders of giants, why mentors matter in small business. Going out in a glaze of glory, the entrepreneurs whose donut business has scored a hole-in-one. Plus, we meet a local sporting goods business that's looking to hit a home run.